All right, welcome to Chapter 4. I hope Chapter 3 went well for all of you. Chapter 4 really builds on Chapter 3. Chapter 4 is the internal analysis. Chapter 3 was the external analysis. This is going to look very similar to Chapter 3, what we're going to do here today. So I am going to go a little quicker, just for the sake of time, because you've already done something very similar, and allow you to have a little bit more time to work on the assignment. There are two parts to Chapter 4. There's the internal factor evaluation, which is going to, what we're going to be doing up here is very similar to the EFE. This is the IFE. There's also a financial ratio analysis. The financial ratio analysis historically has been the part of the course that most students have had trouble with. It is time consuming and it is fairly complicated, and you're going to do several of these in the course. It doesn't help a whole bunch, I found, for me to go through ratio by ratio on how to do these, in part because it's not a finance class, and also because each case is going to be so different on how to do the financial ratio analysis. So for doing a ratio analysis for McDonald's will be very different than the sample I would do up here, and that's going to be confusing. And what do I mean by different? Well, as all of you know from your accounting courses, individual financial statements carry with them, they each have different titles, different headings for the same numbers. And so you may have a financial statement from McDonald's be labeled completely differently and include different things than a financial statement from Burger King. So if I come up here and do Burger King, you're going to try and mimic that into doing it for McDonald's, and it'll cause you all sorts of trouble, because you'll say, well, he just took this number and divided it by this number, but McDonald's doesn't have that number. And so what I've learned is that students tend to be far more successful if I let them do it using the knowledge they already have and using the resources at their disposal to complete the ratios on their own. I want to highly encourage you to use existing information that's already out there. If Yahoo Finance, which I find to be an incredible resource and has been for the last 12, 14 years, for financial information, if you can find the ratios on Yahoo Finance or another website, there's no need to calculate it. You've done it, you found it, someone else has done it for you. And quite typically the company, McDonald's, will have done it for you, and then Yahoo Finance posts McDonald's numbers. So I highly encourage you to go online, look for the ratios as they may already exist, somebody may have already done it, and do your best. And then where I come in is as a resource for you. When you get stuck, if you're spending hours on one ratio, give me a call, give me an email, and I'll help you. But I find that the trial and error process of working through those ratios is far more beneficial than me showing you how to do them and then you just copying the way I did it. This is an important thing, knowing how to analyze a company through financial ratios. I believe you've probably already done this at least one or two times in your educational past, so I'm confident that you'll all do great. And if for some reason you haven't done it, do your best with it. The book does a nice job of explaining what the ratios are and how they're calculated. And then you have to go ahead and do your best with it. And one of the areas that really catches people off guard is the book will say you divide this number by this number, and you can't find either number. You have to derive those numbers. And that can be a little bit tricky, but just take your best guess at it. Take your best informed guess at it. You'll find that if you really work hard on the calculation and do your due diligence on how everything's calculated, you'll do just great. So that's enough for financial ratios right now. Now we're going to move on to the IFE. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to switch from Ford to Krispy Kreme donuts in terms of the sample. The IFE much like the EFE, starts off with components of the SWOT. So here we'll have your strengths, and here we'll have your weaknesses. So strengths for, well, and as you know it's coming here, we're going to assign everything a weight. T there. A rating. And a weighted score. Of course, we'll end up with an answer down here in just a minute. So for Krispy Kreme donuts, I won't spend a lot of time going through the strengths and weaknesses because nobody's here for a discussion. So we'll just throw up some strengths and weaknesses and move on. Oh, one point that does come up quite often is how many strengths and weaknesses, and I believe I mentioned it in the last video, but just in case I didn't, we need to have, for these exercises, 5 is really a minimum, and it's also an optimum. So 5 is a great number and will yield good results. If you want to put 10, that's great. Try not to put less than 5 if possible. Strengths. Mergers. They also will deliver on and off store premises sales. Krispy Kreme has the ability to produce 4,000 to 10,000 donuts a day per store. That's very high production level. We also have their net income is continuing to rise, so we have good financials. And we also have they have a good corporate mission, and a lot of it centers around quality of product. All right, so let's go ahead and do these over here. We've got, for weight, we'll put 0.1, 0.1, 0.05, financials 0.1, and weaknesses 0.1. I'm not sorry, quality 0.1. And then under weaknesses, you don't have to divide it up this way. I've already done it ahead of time, so I'm just kind of keeping up with it. Next, weaknesses. I'm going to put stores, but what I mean by that is there aren't enough of them. They're hard to find. They need more outlets. Calories. You pay for the taste with the calories, as is true with most things. Coffee. Most people think it's terrible. That's a weakness because people want coffee and a donut. If you have to go get your donut and go somewhere else to get your coffee, that hurts you. International. Now that could be classified as a threat, but it could go either way because it's external. But there's not enough stores all over the world, and online ordering. It's either not available or very poorly designed. So here we'll go 0.1, 0.05, 0.05, 0.15, 0.1, and that all totals to 1. You can see, like I did the last time, these are all ending in multiples of 0.05. You do not have to do that. You could put 0.1237442. As long as this totals to an even 1, you're fine. So if you want to divide it up differently, you're welcome to do that. For the rating, in terms of how effective the response is to each of these, mergers, 4, they've done great. Delivery, 4. Ability to produce donuts, they're doing very well. Financials, a 4, and dedicated strategic philosophy, we'll go ahead and put 4 again. Don't be afraid to put high scores if they're earned. Don't feel like there's a need to say, well, they got a 4 here, so they get a 3 here. That will skew your results. Give them what is due. Also, these are opinion. You may disagree with the way I've done these, and that's okay. Because hopefully all the opinions will be sifted out through all the numbers and our final answer will be the same, just like we talked about for the EFE. Even if you disagree with these numbers, this tends to be very similar. So don't worry if you're disagreeing. Accessibility, how well are they addressing that? Not well, they're not addressing it at all. Calories, they're making no effort to change anything. Coffee, once again, nothing is being done. International, they're not looking to expand it, but let's give that a 2. They're looking to do a few things. And online, once again, not doing much. So let's total up the scores. We go 0.4, 0.4, 0.2, 0.4, 0.4, 0.1, 0.05, 0.05, 0.1, 0.3, 0.1, and that gives us a total of 2.5, which is a marginal score. Now, a few comments before we wrap up Chapter 4. I purposefully did these a little bit extreme with the high numbers here and the low numbers here. If you scored these differently, I would venture to say, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you're still going to get that 2.5. Krispy Kreme is having is struggling right now. Any business that's struggling is probably going to score 2.5 or below. And a company that's going to score closer to 2.5, maybe even a little above, if it is struggling, is a company with a great product that maybe is just not selling that product as well as they could, not marketing as well as they could, not doing a company without effective strategy. And that's one of the reasons I chose Krispy Kreme, was because it is a company that has products that people like, but is struggling, which means they need new strategies, which means it's perfect for what we're doing here today. So they're at a 2.5, and we got to figure out how to get them up much, much higher. That's it for Chapter 4. I will have another video ready for you for Chapter 5.